Hi, welcome. This is the caddyinfo.com Cadillac chat. We do these on Thursday nights when we get more than one of us together. Occasionally, Jim will be brave enough to host and do a monologue. And I have done a monologue before, but I try and avoid it as much as I can. I have with me Cadillac Jim from the forums.
Howdy.
Hey there. And if you want to be on with us, there's multiple different ways that you can do that. But they all start with contact me and let me know that that's what you want to do. And I will help you get educated so that you can do video and audio. Greg Garnes, if you're out there, I would love for you to figure out a way to join us because you and I like the same kind of technical talk. And so get thee to figure out how to come to Google Plus. And I'm sending you this email right now so you can watch the video as I sent you the email saying, hey, come figure out how to do Google Plus. So how is your CTSV doing, Jim?
Well, let's see. I still haven't done anything except other than I changed the tires a little over a year ago. I have put windshield washer fluid in it and had a couple of oil changes. Had some problem with the phone Bluetooth not wanting to hang up. That gradually went away.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
yeah, finally. So it's and I'm still immensely pleased with the grip on it. It's on the 270-degree freeway Cloverleaf. I'm king of the road. It's really nice to have be completely comfortable at point 8G where all the road cars are losing traction and still have plenty of margin. So. And 600 horsepower isn't bad when you see, give gap, take gap, and the gap is 20-mile-an-hour difference, and it's no problem. That's nice. That's nice. And,
Yeah, I loved there was somebody that made a comment on one of the CTSV forums, and he said, these cars come with 556 horsepower. And so you guys that feel like you have to modify them are insane because they already have more power than you could possibly use. And so, of course, I'd be the first one to want to jiggle it and add more of this or add more of that, or just because you can, and more is better. But I really appreciated his comment, even though it wasn't going to be popular on the board. He made it because everybody was modifying everything. But I think it did give a perspective about, you probably don't need a ton more horse. Now you might want more horse. You don't
yeah,
need more.
yeah,
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 but from a Tim Allen, more
yeah.
power, then sure. And these cars are about passion, right? I
Well, I
mean,
like my warranty more than another 100 horse. When the
yeah,
warranty runs out, I'll consider it. And the
but
car's a brick. I'm sure it'll be solid enough to where I can, play with the chip and get more boost.
okay, we're gonna play $25,000.
Yeah.
Here's a $25,000 question.
Okay.
If you had to spend $25,000 and you were gonna get a weekend car, I have two candidates for you to consider tonight, and I'm going to share my screen briefly, and then we'll talk about these two candidates. Okay. Now the
Anybody that's
idea,
watching, let's ask them to vote.
yes, please, and you can do that in the Q&A, or you can do that by sending me a text if you know my phone number. Okay, so two candidates. One of them is a 2007 XLR. This is a hard top convertible, of course, with the rear wheel drive North Star V8, 320 horsepower in black. It has a tan interior. Uh, let's assume it's in excellent shape and everything's working properly. And the interior is now this does have the wood steering wheel, which I love that they didn't put in my STSV because it is a little slippery, more slippery for the track. And it has the wood dash interior. So it's a black interior, black exterior, black on black. Okay, that's one of the choices. $25,000. And this one is near me. It's right here in town, available. It's got 58,000 miles on it. Now, another choice, a 1947. So this is not a convertible. This is a sedan, 1947 Series 62 sedan, also $25,000. And this has the beautiful. It has these beautiful wheel covers on the sides. It has that pronounced snout from the 40s Cadillacs. The interior is complete. It's all done up. It has air conditioning. It's the automatic. He has converted it to a 12-volt system, so it's a 12-volt instead of a 6-volt. Look at the leg room in the rear seat.
Oh,
Now, this would not have airbags, would not have safety systems, would not have the cornering and it has the L head. So this was before 51 when the overhead valve engine came out. So this is
49.
I agree. So this is a 47. So it has the L head V8,
Sherman tank motor.
kind of adequate power, let's say. And I'd have to get my friend up the street up north at Carroll Custom Cadillac to help me with this one. Now I do
Quite
like
good power. Quite good power. I drove a hearse with one of those motors in it, a 48, and a friend drove it for years. It's reliable and quite powerful. That
and,
hearse had a 3-speed though.
and this one would have a red line of something like 4,000 or 4,500 RPM. It would be a stump puller engine, and perfectly situated for this Cadillac. So this would be a weekend only car, but I think this looks like a very nice example of a Series 62 from 1947. Okay, so again, $25,000. We're going to spend $25,000. We want a weekend car that will only be driven to church or out to dinner with the wife, not cross country, not or out to see my friend in Fort Worth. So which one would you take? The hardtop convertible, so that you'd have a convertible and summer car, or the 47 Series 62 sedan with these beautiful bulbous wheel covers?
It's tough. I love the 40s, those 40s cars. But I really think that if I was going to have a weekend car, I'd want the convertible and the XLR. XLS, I'm sorry.
Because it's a convertible.
That, and I love the way that car looks. The flip top, the self-stowing electric top. It's but if something happened and when I was looking at those two cars and ended up with a 47, I wouldn't be too upset. It's a fantastic car.
Now let's talk depreciation. Which one do you think would depreciate further from here?
Oh, the XLR, clearly.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. The 62. I don't know that 25K is a great price for a 62 because everything depends on condition on an older car like this.
Well, keeping it in that condition isn't going to be cheap, but you will be able to get or make parts. For example, it's got a kingpin front suspension,
yes.
No ball joints. And what do you do if a kingpin wears out? And they wear out. You have to grease them every 2,000 miles, and they wear out anyway, and they're bronze. Well, you go to a front end shop that does truck work, where big trucks still use kingpins because they're strong, and they make you one. They just say, well, what's the specs? They need the length, diameter, and alloy, and they'll turn one up on a lathe. My dad did that back in the when he had his business in the 50s. He made kingpins.
And I'm familiar with that kind of thing. What they're not saying about my 47 though is how many miles it has on it, which is a bad sign. Whenever an ad doesn't say how many miles the car has on it, that's catastrophic.
Well, you got to see the car. It could have 200,000 miles on it, but that doesn't necessarily death. It really depends on where the the high mileage is. If it was gained on the open road in the Southwest, well, then that's fine. It's all that matters is the wheel bearings.
Yeah, the other thing I'm thinking between these two is the XLR would be a weekend car you could just buy and drive, and the 47 would have to be a hobby.
Yeah, Yeah, you'd have to make a hobby out of getting into the community and learning how to maintain it and access parts and services for it. Also, it's not all 47. If it's got a 12-volt system, there's a community of people that convert 6-volt cars, and J.C. Whitney and people like that will have parts for the electrical system.
But it does have air conditioning.
Well, you'd have to find out who made that air conditioner and
Yeah.
work with them. Is it R134 or
No, well, how you keep it running, yeah.
right? You'd need to get a source of parts and service for the air conditioner.
But boy, what a gorgeous car, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, you'd never have any trouble getting people to go for a ride in your car if you showed them that. Hey, let's take my car for the day trip. Well, sure.
Well, that's the other thing I have in the back of my mind is the weekend car might be a car on a nice day I would take to work on Fridays, right?
Yeah.
And just start your day off nicely for that way. Now, where would you set your mile for a weekend? So if you're going to buy a weekend convertible, where would you set your mileage limit for
500.
shopping?
Oh, for shopping?
Yeah.
Oh, Conus.
No. I mean, how many miles would you buy? What would you limit your search to? How many miles on the car would you limit your search to? Say,
it depends on the year. For the 2007, I'd limited it to about 80,000. But if you talk about an antique, then mileage wouldn't be an issue at all. I would just look at condition.
And I'm going to turn my screen share off, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, on the antique, maybe. On the more modern cars, I would really want to have. Well, there's our expert.
I'm late again.
Hi, Mike.
Hey.
We're not hearing your opinion. We were just choosing a $25,000 weekend car. Have you seen anything so far?
Yeah, I saw some of it, but I'm biased,
Well, tell us what you want. We're all biased.
Well, I don't even care for old cars, so XLR wins every day. I mean, I got rid of all my muscle cars that have an XLR, right?
So every comparison, the answer is XLR for you.
Yeah, I don't see how you can do better.
I have the same feeling about my car.
Now, I'm still taking, I don't think I have to have the V engine in this one, though. I'm still not sure I agree with you there. Mike's argument was, after I've had the V engine in the SDS, then I'm not going to be satisfied with the XLR unless I get the 443 horsepower version instead of the 320 horsepower version. And I don't think I agree. But I'm also shopping at keeping in mind that the difference between an XLR and an XRV is still over $10,000.
Right.
And
There's
so
one on the XLR site for 35 right now. So I think it might be 06.
But would I be happier with a $25,000 weekend car or a $36,000 weekend car? I would tend to think the less expensive one is the one that would make me happier. but that's that's exactly kind of the range that I see is you could get a regular XLR, and a 7. What kind of where I'm shopping is a 7, 8, or 9 with less than 60,000 miles. Thinking that a weekend car is probably going to put a couple of thousand miles a year on it, and so it could actually get long service before it got to 100,000.
Right.
But at that,
69.
the 60, it kind of lost out between either the XLR or the 46.
Oh, the black convertible I saw.
Yeah. Because the 69 or the 76 would be other choices, but I think the 69, the issue is you have the same issues of maintaining an antique car, but it's not as classic as like if you go with a 50s or a 40s Cadillac. So you have the disadvantages, but not as many advantages of a 60-year-old car.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going to do with your car, so it'd be hard for me to, answer, but there's no comparison between any of those other cars and the XLR if you're taking a road trip.
No, it's not for road. Well, I've got about one of my friends. I go out and have breakfast and spend the morning with him, and so that's about a 40-mile round trip. You know, something on that order. And so I would like the car to be reliable enough to make that circuit, because I like to take, when I'm going out there, then I'd like it to work for that. But this is strictly the weekend car. So a car that I could take to church, you know, 5 miles away, could take to occasionally to work, which is 7 miles each way, you know, a 40 mile an hour or so. I think any of these cars would work for those purposes.
Right. My car is strictly a weekend car also, but I still went to Corvette Homecoming in Bowling Green one time, and you know, if you're ever going to take them trips, that older car is not going to be near the car.
No, that's true. That you would feel you might. What I did with my Roadster before is I would build up my confidence in it by going around the block enough times that I felt comfortable getting 4 blocks away, and then I got 4 blocks away until I felt comfortable enough to go to the gas station, and then I go back and forth to the gas station until I got comfortable enough to go further, and so on. But the little Roadster wanted to run, but so a 40-something convertible, I was watching for that, you know, or a 50s convertible. As Jim pointed out, I think they made that DeVille convertible from 68 to 72. I think I've got my dates right. And I like the lines of it. I didn't like the colors of the particular one that I had posted to the forum, but I like the lines of it. But it would have not near the performance that the XLR does, and it would have, you know, that it wouldn't be as reliable as a modern car would be.
Well, the performance on the 68, 69, 70, and 71 cars was good. It fell off after 71 because of the pollution regs. They didn't have the engines ready for them, and the only way they could meet them was to you know, massive VGR on an engine that wasn't designed for it and this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But 68 to 71, yeah, you could get good performance, and Cadillac was always a good performer. So yeah, it may or may not be as good as a 320 horse XLR, but it should be just fine.
Yeah, the 320, the regular XLR would do 0 to 60 in just under 6 seconds, and then the 443 horsepower variant is Car and Driver stock said Car and Driver said about 4.7 seconds, so under 5 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think it would do 6 seconds, the 68 to 72.
No, it would be around 9 point something seconds.
Really?
Probably.
Oh, no. No, it'd be faster than that.
But it would feel much faster because it has that front torque, but because of the low red line and the way the automatic's set up, then I don't think it's really much faster than that, much quicker than that. You know, the first 30 feet out of proportion.
Well, I had a 69 Chevy 427 with a turbo hydro 400, and it was in a huge wagon, and I would outrun motorcycles in that thing.
Now, I will say that if you go to modify the 472 or the 500, you can make quite a bit more power than they made stock.
Well,
certainly, there's the potential there in a 472 cubic inch engine, but again, that would have to become a hobby car, not
making my case for a XLRV.
Yeah.
Talking about horsepower.
Yeah.
Out of the box. Yeah. But yeah, that looks like the difference is the XLRV would be in the low 30s, and the partially because the ask is still pretty high on those, and the low 30, you know, the CTSVs are getting into the low 30s now, but of course the XLR has the advantage of being a convertible where the CTSVs weren't. Now the reason the Alantes kind of pop back into my consideration is because you could get a 93 Alante for around 10 and a 92 for, you know, several $1,000s less than that. And so
A 94? Did they make it? They made a North Star version, I know.
They stopped in 93. 93 was the last year for the Onte, and it had the North Star in 93. So in 93, they had a 290 horsepower North Star. But the Ontes have many in custom bits and bobbits is the issue, is the maintenance on keeping the Onte, everything doing just right. And it has a manual top where the XLR has an automatic top.
Yeah, and the top hinges and bits are, they wear out eventually, and they're very difficult now because all the spares have long since been used by people who just won't quit driving the damn things.
But now the people who own Allantes love them, and the people who own XLRs love them. But I keep reading on the XLR discussions where they're saying, well, I have an XLR and I'm shopping for another one. You know, where they'll have an 06 and they're shopping for an 07, or they wish they had the V instead of the normal one, or they're swapping this color one for that color one. But they're like Mike here, where that's the car they want.
Yep.
They're just looking for a newer one.
Well, that's what I feel about my CTS-V.
Yes.
I'd love to have the new version of the LT motor, or the VVT and stuff, and the coupe. But I can't afford it. But if I had the money, that's what I'd do. So I'd look for the new LTM motor. I haven't seen it yet. It's been announced, but I don't think it's available yet.
Now, our sponsor, Crest, has a 2009 XLR-V on the showroom with 12,000 miles on it.
Oh, they're trying to kill us.
What?
What did you say, Mike?
I bet they're practically giving that away.
Yeah, they're practically giving it away. They're practically giving it away. They want $54,000 for it.
Right. Two regular XLRs, huh?
Yeah. Well, an XLR-V, but yeah, exactly, two regular XLRs. But an XLR-V, of course, would cost you about the next ones you see are probably around 36, and so they're asking 54 for this one. And what I do need to do is go down there and look at it. I do not want to give them $54,000 for it, but I do need to go down there and look at it and see if they'll let me take it out for a drive.
They'll let you drive it.
Maybe.
Yeah. You leave your STF there, surely they will.
Well, and they know me, but they may ask me if I'm actually going to buy it before they let me drive it, and in which case I'd have to tell them no, I'm not.
Well, then they probably wouldn't let you drive it.
Yeah.
Unless you promise to talk about it on the forum.
Well, they're already getting that. I'm already talking about it.
There you go.
So,
well, then why would they let you drive it? Right, so you can talk about driving it, of course. Yeah.
So
I think to drive one, Bruce, before you can make up your mind.
Yeah.
Well, so they've got this black XLR over at Reliable here in town, and it's just right at 60,000 miles, 58,000 miles for 26K. So I think what I'm going to do is just keep a watch out, because I remember someone, an individual seller, was moving the XLR in the low 20s just because they needed to sell it right then. And so that's kind of my, keep your money in your pocket and wait until somebody's really ready to move one of these cars. But the same thing, I think I just watch for, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 90s convertible, or, 40, 50, 60s, or 2000 convertible, and then go that way. Well, here's an 04, but it's out down in Houston. It's an 04 with 70,000 miles, and they want 19,000 for it. And it's the light, it looks like the light gray. They say it's beige.
I'd probably stay away from the very first model, because they had several, radiator, headlights, different things they had to, and they may all be repaired, updated, so it might be a good deal too.
Well, I think the first year had more top problems. I remember reading a lot of the 04 guys were having to jiggle the sensors on the top just right to get it to go up, and they'd have to learn what do you do if the top gets stuck halfway up and so on. And so I would be more sensitive about that. Now, for the same 26K and right at 60,000 miles, the Daimler place has a silver XLR. Now, I'm also a little allergic to silver XLRs because my last three Cadillacs have been silver. And so I'm thinking I've had too many silver Cadillacs now.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good reason, but I think that's my preference. Is
Well, I
the
do.
next one not be
I
silver.
do because it does get wear on you having too many cars the same color.
Now, I also worry a little bit more about the supercharged cars with the high miles
Why?
because there's more to go wrong with the supercharger.
What more?
I have what is it? '05 Grand Prix, and it has 230,000 miles on it. No mechanical issues.
And it's the supercharged model, right?
Right. The transmission's probably due, but the engine-wise, it's fine.
You need to service the transmission every 30 to 60,000 miles. The dealer won't say so, but if you do, it'll go forever. If you don't, 200,000 and it's gone. I'm having mine serviced next time I get an oil change. And he said, well, that's not due till 70,000 miles. And I says, well, I'm funny that way.
A little bit now or a lot of it later. What's that frame commercial?
Yeah, right. Pay me now or pay me later. That's the old commercial.
Supercharger at all, Bruce. I don't know how many miles you have in your car, but it hasn't given you any trouble, has it?
Yeah, 70,000 and change on my car, and it doesn't give me any trouble. And you know, the truth of the matter is, I have another supercharger sitting on the floor behind me. So worst come to worst, right?
Oh, I thought you got that one to tinker with.
I did, but if I had two of these cars,
now you have to have an XLRV or that supercharger's no account for you.
well, that's true regardless. So here's an '07 XLRV, but it's got 100,000 miles on it. And what I was trying to flip back and see is exactly where it was in the country. Oh, it's here in Garland.
I'd go by and pick it up for spare change.
Well, this one.
How much is one with 100,000 miles?
Well, it would depend on the condition. If they've been swimming in Mobil 1 all its life, it's probably just fine.
Well, I'm having trouble flipping back and forth. I don't know if they just took the ad down while I was flipping back and forth or what the problem is. But so I had gone to, let me refresh the page and then maybe I can get
the webmaster's trying to get your IP address so he can get.
Okay, it's an '07 XLRV. It's at Empire Motor Cars, which is 12 miles away from here, and it's 100,000 miles, and they want $29,888 for it. They're asking $29,888. So that's 5,000 below the other XLRVs because it's got 100,000 miles on it. But it's red.
I would run a Carfax and look at KBB and see if that $5,000 is appropriate. See if it's really a good deal. And you know, and also, well, that's asking. It's not necessarily what you pay if you make the deal.
Now I'm going to nail this over to my screen for a moment so that I can show you. So here's the visuals of it. So it's not a lipstick red. It's kind of that other red.
Yeah, it's
that red. On the computer here, that doesn't look like the red that it really looks like. There's one in our town, and it's not. That's the lights are making it look funny.
Yeah. I think that's called infrared. Infrared is the name of the color of red it is.
It's a premium metallic red is what it is. It's a beautiful metallic red, yeah.
Yeah, but it's an XLRV, but high miles at 100,000 miles. But that would get you. Now, the rule on used cars is what people normally say is buy the best one you can afford. You know, that's what we always say with antique cars is buy the best one you can afford in order to avoid maintenance costs. Because
they're unpredictable and always higher than you expect.
And let the other guy have paid to restore it, and now you pay to enjoy it.
Right.
I don't know about that car, that like the transmission or wheel bearings or any of that kind of stuff. I have no idea. But as far as the top and all that stuff, I don't think the miles will matter. That's just an age. You know, I say the old Fords have more trouble because they're older.
Yeah, any of the 7, 8 Cadillacs are already, you know, 8 years old, 7 years old, depending on which one. So all the normal things that can go wrong are going to go wrong at that point because they're 8-year-old cars.
Right.
But so the question would be, how good is the story with the car, and would you rather have that car with 100,000 miles or pay $5,000 more and get a car with 70,000 miles?
Well, I would just decide if I wanted it. And if I wanted it, I would go ahead and do the damn tranny and wheel bearings.
Well, you know, worst come to worst, the transmission costs you $3,000 in that range. And so you're not, it's not very smart to pay an extra $5,000 for fear that you'll have, $3,000 of maintenance.
That's another reason you need the Carfax, and also you need to decide what you're going to pay for the car, and you need to plan for these things. And I would drive it. You can tell if you have driven similar cars, you can tell if the transmission is if it drives like a new car. Well, then you can reasonably assume that if you service the transmission, it'll be okay for the foreseeable future. But if it doesn't shift right, it slips on shift. The shift timing, is shifts a little hard or a little soft. But then you can reasonably assume that even with a service, you're probably going to be looking at doing something in a year or less if you drive it every weekend.
I actually remember shopping for one Cadillac, and the dash was busy saying all the things that were wrong with it, and the people selling it were oblivious to that, right? They weren't even looking at it. They were just trying to move it across the lot. So I don't think they'd even started it up.
I always ignore car salesmen.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Obviously, if you're going to put money away to repair that one, a transmission's, I don't know what it costs. I'm sure it's over $3,000 to get it done.
Well, that's what I recall paying to replace the transmission in my 96. As you said, have them rebuild the 4-speed transmission in my 96. Now, the 6-speed could be much more expensive than the 4-speeds were in the North Star. But that's what I recall the transmission cost to have it rebuilt.
I don't think it'd be much more because a whole lot of that money's in the torque converter. I think there'd be some more, but not drastically more, not proportional to the gears. Unless the torque converter is a whole lot more expensive, it should be in the same ballpark.
But certainly my sense of it is, wait and try and find a car that appears to be a tremendous value. Because that way I'm not in a hurry. I'm loving my SDSV, and we're talking about a weekend car. I still got to get my kids, Austin, out of the garage and over to his apartment, over to his house, not his apartment, over to his house. And so I am in no rush to spend money on a car.
Yeah.
But I've not had any interest or paid any attention to high mileage cars, but I suppose a guy who's looking at a 100,000-mile car, you go over to the Corvette forums and see they're basically going to have the same transmission and wheel bearings and et cetera.
Oh, yeah.
So that'd be a place they may not be having any problems with it.
Yeah, but with any car, I think the 50s cars, you would expect them to go 50,000 miles and then they're kind of worn out. And to me, the 2000s cars will go, a lot of it will go 100,000 miles and then it needs maintenance, new shocks and you got to look at, is the engine getting tired and is the transmission getting tired? The problem with these is with those magnetic shocks, then they're likely to be $1,000 a corner. Right? And so you can get into very expensive. Our engines are going to be $15,000 or $20,000 to replace if we had to replace that custom North Star.
Right. Well, that's why you need to look at the Carfax and see if it's been regularly maintained and not, all topped off with 30 weight at the Jiffy Lube instead of oil change and stuff like that.
Yeah, all that makes me think, for a weekend car, a regular non-supercharged XLR for under 20,000 with less than 60,000 miles would make a really excellent cruiser, and not I can have my daily driver be my race car, and have this be my cruiser.
Are you going to keep the STS?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep the STSV until I replace it. But if I get a different weekend car, I think that I'm likely to drive the STSV. Right now, I'm thinking I'm going to drive the STSV at least another year, and then I was going to trade it on a V Sport or an ATSV. But if I were to get an XLR now, then I might keep the STSV 2 more years.
Right.
And then trade it.
You should go drive that 100,000-mile XLR. It's not too far away, you said?
No, it's 12 miles.
It's probably waiting out front by now.
You think they're watching the video?
I got your AP address off the web server.
You'll know. Go drive that car, and you'll know if you need a V or not.
Well, yeah. I think both. All these cars that are local, I need to go over and look at every one of them. And so this antique, the Series 62, because just getting the pictures of it and going and visiting them would make a nice discussion. I would like to see it in person, even if I don't end up wanting to buy it. And so the same thing with these XLRs, and the same thing with that Alante. One of the things they talk about with the Alantes is the 92 had Recaro seats. The 93, they went to more standard seats and dropped the Recaro seats when they put the North Star in. And so the 92 actually has a nicer interior than the 93. And as one of the guys said on the forums, the overhead valve engine, you don't have any of the North Star traits. Yeah, it doesn't have the 290 horsepower, but at the same time, it's maybe a little more reliable in some people's eyes than the North Star is. And so I think all of them, though, I've never driven an Alante. I've been in an XLR and driven an XLR, because when, our old friend Howard Hamowitz, who used to go by, he used to participate quite a bit on the forums when he had his triple black Cadillac. But he runs an eBay business, direct wheels on eBay. That what he does is he gets OEM wheels and sells them on eBay, and has done quite well with that. He's got a business doing that out of Florida. But he was shopping for an XLR back in the day when they had just come below $30,000, and I went over to test drive one, and the salesman just handed me the keys and said, "Go take it around the block." So I played at the top and took it out for a drive and took copious pictures of it and sent them off to Florida. And he ended up getting a Lamborghini instead. So.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, what a shame.
I had to settle for a Lamborghini, huh?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he got a Murcielago. I think he sold his Lamborghini now, but yeah, that's nice. And I asked him if that was a business expense, because I talked to him along the way, and I got with the I have 5 wheels for my STSV as an emergency, because the STSV doesn't have a spare. So I actually got an extra wheel for the STSV to use as a emergency spare if I had to, and I got that from direct on eBay. And he was trying to discount it for me, and I refused because I wanted to be a good customer. But
yeah.
And I think we settled in between on that. But
he never did that for me.
Yeah, he invited me to come out to Florida. He said if I came down to Florida, he would let me drive the Lamborghini, but I haven't got down there yet.
Yeah, it'd probably be a disappointment after your car.
No, it's a very different car, right? And so all the Lamborghinis are, but all these cars are about passion, and that's something that I discount sometimes because I talk a lot about trades and common sense and this and that, but these cars are not really about common sense. They're really about, how does the car make you feel when you're driving it, and the sporting side of the cars and so on. That's kind of what I was saying. Started to say a while ago about your CTSV, Jim, is that you know, a normal CTS would do all the daily driving chores that your CTS-V does and would have done it much less expensively. But the reason you buy the CTS-V is that it's a supermodel, you know, as a girlfriend instead of just a regular girlfriend.
I'm not sure that it would be any more reliable, and as far as more expensive, it would get better gas mileage. Yeah, there is. It's a lot better to drive, and it does a lot of things that you know, like that 20. Getting into a gap when there's a 20-mile-an-hour difference. I always wait, you know, make sure there's plenty of clearance before I do that, but I can do it. And without that extra horsepower, I would not, and I wouldn't even attempt it. It would never occur to me.
Now the way to tell that the way to tell that story is by waiting and buying your car with used, because you got a 2011 model. Then you actually paid less than you would have paid for a brand new CTS Premium.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that way, yeah, but that, you know, but certainly it costs more than you would have paid for a 2011 CTS at the time, right?
Oh yeah.
So now also in the back of my mind, not a convertible, but in the back of my mind, I still like the 2007 CTSs with the LS6 engine. But certainly they would have, you know, all the used car problems without being a classic car. But my car friend at work says that he won't buy a car if it's going to depreciate. He doesn't buy any cars that he feels will depreciate. And so I think in that equation, you'd have to say one of the antique cars.
That's right.
Whatever they're at, then they're not going to depreciate further from here, right?
No, the money goes away in the maintenance.
Yeah, it evaporates.
But once the car is 8 or 10 years old, then the cost per mile is pretty much at the bottom of the, and it's not going to get any cheaper to drive. So there's that. From his point of view, he should, if he's looking at cost per mile, if that's his, you know, the bottom line on a spreadsheet, he should be looking at cars that are 4 to 6 years old when he gets them.
Well, no, he's looking at, you know, $50,000-$75,000 cars that after he drives it for 4 years, he can still sell it for $75,000 or $80,000.
Well, okay, I'd love to have an Eldorado convertible too.
There you go. Just bring your checkbook and we'll go shop.
Oh yeah, pink Cadillac. Let's go.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to move to Texas or Kansas or somewhere where you can have all these cars, Jim.
Yeah, there's New Jersey. There's mostly grocery getters. It's the freeway is pretty good, but I actually ran into a smart car. I found out how fast a smart car would go yesterday because there was one on the freeway, and I was clearly going as fast as it could go to keep up with traffic. 79 miles an hour.
The person was pedaling as hard as they could?
There was 2 guys in it, and they were, you know, yuppies, and they were going home from work. They had this grim game face on. The only other time I saw a smart car on the highway was one in the 50 miles on with 2 women in it, and they were plainly terrified. But these guys were hardened commuters, and all they cared about is they just stayed out of the fast lane and kept the pedal to the metal and just made their commute and didn't worry about it. They must have been getting almost 20 miles to a gallon in that thing.
Yeah, that car gets surprisingly poor miles per gallon for the compromises you make and the size of the car.
Well, any car is going to get in the gutter if you put it on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get a 1 liter, 40 mile a gallon Champion. You put the pedal to the metal and hold it there, and it's going to get poor gas mileage.
Now
have you drove electric car?
Huh?
Have you drove electric car?
No, I haven't. Have you, Bruce?
No.
I rode it. I haven't drove it. It was surprisingly powerful. It was Chevy Volt.
I have driven a Volt before at one of the driver day kind of events, and I would actually enjoy an ELR because I think I could do my daily commute on no gas, and so I could get the XLR as my garage car and the ELR to replace my STSV, and be set. Except the ELR would have to go in the garage at night to recharge.
Yeah.
So,
for a longer cord, huh?
Yeah.
or run a cord out to the driveway.
If you
or
got overnight, they'll do it on 110.
Or con my wife into letting me have both garage spots. But you know, I think she's going to read me the riot act about. She always said if you want to have 3 cars, you have to buy a new house with the 3-car garage, or you know, buy a house out in the country where we can have a separate garage, like my friend was talking about, where you have enough room to build a garage or a shop or something alongside.
I recommend that.
Yeah.
I have kept us for 45 of our 30 minutes, but Mike, thanks for joining us. Always good to see you. Cadillac Jim, always good to see you. Thanks for being on. Glad your alarm went off at the right time.
Yeah.
If you're watching at home and you want to be on our Cadillac chat, we do these on Thursday nights. Usually we'll rev it up about 15 minutes, 7:15 Central Time, which is 8:15 Eastern Time or 5:15 Pacific Time. We actually start the broadcast then, and that gives you time to get your ears on and get your cameras and cough and get your setup set up. And then we go live at about 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. And we try and go about 30 minutes. Any Cadillac fan is welcome to join us. The way that you would join us is let me know on Google Plus or through the forums or contact me directly via some way. Everybody seems to always be able to get hold of me, so contact me somehow and let me know that that's what you want to do. And I will try my best to teach you what to do and how to log in. It's not that hard because we all figured it out, so there's a way to figure it out.
Most laptops just go on Google Plus and it'll work.
You can participate via your phone, an Android or an iPhone. You can't host very well, but you can actually participate. And when you do, you just log into the phone and do it when you have Wi-Fi. But you just log onto the phone and use the phone as a camera and a microphone and everything, and you'll just talk to us as if, and we'll see you on your phone, and everyone else will see us the same way here. All this is done automatically, where you see the little heads set in and so on. But contact me via Google Plus or any other way, and then we'll figure out how to get you educated and get you online. You don't have to have a headset, but it does help because what it does is it prevents feedback so that you don't hear my voice in my microphone. But the headset is $5 up to, I think I pay more because I have a custom gamer headset because I use it to play games, and then the camera's about $100, but you could pay less. You could, as I say, the cheap way to do it is use your phone, and then you've already paid for it. Any last words for our viewers tonight, Cadillac Jim?
Good evening.
And Mike on the forums, any words for our viewers tonight, Mike?
No, just for you. Report back how that V drives.
Yeah.
Report. That's your homework assignment, Bruce.
Yeah.
For next Thursday, go drive an XLRV and report back.
Both XLRs.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. Have a good week. Come tune back in next Thursday. Bye-bye.
Good night.